It's time for Coach's Corner on KCCR, presented by the South Dakota Office of Attorney General, Division of Consumer Protection. Coach's Corner on KCCR and online at kccrradio.com is also brought to you by Bank West, Capital City Ford, Lincoln, and Toyota, Todd's Electric, Owyhee Federal Credit Union, Shane's Pharmacy, Missouri River Dentistry, CHS River Plains, Edward Jones Financial, Ferding Electric, First Dakota National Bank, Gales Gas, and Lamb Motors. And now, your host for Coach's Corner, John Winkler.
And we welcome you inside the KCCR studios for another edition of Coach's Corner. John Winkler with you on this Wednesday evening. We are moving into the final two Coach's Corner of the year. We will be taking the break once March hits until the fall with all the spring activities that makes it a little bit harder to talk to coaches. But we've got a good show for you, and we're talking a little bit of some spring sports. We're going to be talking with Coach Josh Schleisner, as well as also Misty Larson, the head coaches of the Pierre girls and boys and girls track and field team, as the Governors getting set. Their practices will begin soon, and their competitions will be here before you know it as well. But the warmer weather that maybe not here today, but has been over the course of the last week or so, we're in the mood for some spring sports talk, and we're going to be talking some track and field. Also talk with the head coach of the Owyhee Capitals, Landon Badger, as the Caps have 2 weeks left of the regular season. They have 4 games remaining, 2 this weekend, 2 next weekend. We'll also talk with Joey Fisher, the head coach of the Stanley County boys basketball team, after their big win last night against Beaubridge Pollock, as they have just 2 games left to go in the regular season and looking to be one of the top teams in all of Class A heading into the region tournament. So we'll talk to those coaches on the way. We'll talk with Coach Badger next. You're listening to Coach's Corner here on KCCR and online at kccrradio.com.
During the summer months, residents may encounter someone at their door looking to sell a product or a service, especially with the recent storms and flooding. The Attorney General's Consumer Protection Division offers these tips. Avoid high-pressure sales tactics. Check for ID, such as a revenue license and proof of insurance. Ask for references and compare prices with local businesses. If you have questions regarding a door-to-door sale, contact the Attorney General's Consumer Protection Division at 800-300-1986 or at consumerhelp@state.sd.us.
No one likes to have electrical problems, but when they happen, call Todd's Electric at 223-2518. With over 30 years of experience, Todd's Electric can handle any type of electrical problem, whether it's residential, commercial, or agriculture. Their knowledgeable staff knows and understands the importance of your home, business, or ag facility and are prepared to help. That number again is 223-2518. Todd's Electric Service, serving the Pierre Fort Pierre area. Todd's Electric Service, the line to power.
People helping people.
Have you ever wondered what the benefits are of becoming a Owyhee Federal Credit Union member? At Owyhee Federal Credit Union, we reinvest profits in you. We do this in the form of lower interest rates, higher dividends, and low to no fees. So come check us out or come in at 221 East Pleasant Drive in Pierre, because at Owyhee Federal Credit Union, we treat our members like they own the place because, well, they do.
Owyhee Federal Credit Union.
You're listening to Coach's Corner on Central South Dakota's sports leader, KCCR.
You like that? You like that?
As we welcome you back to Coach's Corner here on KCCR and online at kccrradio.com. Join me as Coach Landon Badger of the Owyhee Capitals as they get set for their final 2 home games of the regular season, Friday and Saturday. They'll have 4 games left to go before the end of the regular season, but they will be in the state tournament coming up here at the middle of March. Coach, let's go back to last weekend. Mixed results in a 7-0 win and then a 9-1 loss. A lot of emotions probably for everybody in those 2 games, with a lot of highs and then maybe some lows with that loss. What was the overall takeaway from the weekend?
Hey, I mean, we've talked about it multiple times throughout the season, just how there is a big separation between our bottom half teams in the state and our top half teams in the state, and that we're right there in the middle. And it showed again. I mean, we did a really good job of managing a game against Mitchell, and really just did a good job of controlling a game, gaining a lot of confidence, and just playing as a whole. When you go to the Saturday game, as far as with the Sioux Falls one, you know, it kind of gets out of stretch earlier than we would like. And our compete level just kind of went down the wrong way by the end of that game. Unfortunately, obviously, having a day of games beforehand never helps, but we've talked about this multiple times as well too, is that you've got to be prepared for 3 games in a state tournament, and so it's not an excuse by any means, but definitely one of those things that we have to kind of note and make sure that we're adjusted before we go into the state tournament, so we're conditioned and ready to go and be on attack mode the whole time.
Coming up this weekend, you get a chance to have a couple of opportunities against, really 3 of the last 4 games are against those top half teams. 2 this weekend, both at home against Rushmore on Friday, then Brookings Saturday, and then you also get Yankton in a makeup game, which will be you're the home team, but you'll be playing in Mitchell next week Friday. But it's an opportunity again. Your spot is set in the state tournament, looking more likely that you're going to be in 6th place, regardless of maybe if you go 4-0 that you might have a shot, but even then doesn't guarantee anything. Kind of looks like the 6th seed is kind of where you're going to be at. Again, not that it makes a difference win or lose, but it does give you maybe a little bit more opportunity of some freedom of going out and competing and showing that how good this team can be, and not worry about your place in the state standings by the end of a weekend, because where you're at is pretty much where it's at. But an opportunity to kind of maybe let loose a little bit and not have the worry of anything else.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there is that possibility that you could maybe gain a position or slip a position, but at the end of the day, we're in state, and that's all that matters. And as far as at this point, I mean, once you get to state, it's just about playing the best 3 days of hockey that you can play. And so throughout these next couple of weeks, we play some really tough competition. Brookings has always been kind of the standard in hockey in South Dakota, and they do a very good job to compete at a very high level. You look at Rushmore and what they've been doing over the last few years, I mean, they're by far the most dominant hockey team right now. And so we've got 2 really good competitions this weekend that we can grow and truthfully play through a little bit of adversity, knowing that those are some of the most challenging games that you play all season, because you're not going to win that game 1-0 more than likely. It's a very challenging task to ask for that, and we're okay with that. And we know that that's not the idea of what we're looking for. We're looking to try to score multiple goals and be able to kind of withhold a team after scoring a few goals and trying to get on top early. If we can do those things, anything's possible in a hockey game. And, if we go down 1 or 2 early on in a hockey game against those teams, it's just a matter of being able to respond and grow throughout the game instead of letting it dwindle to being a 9-0 victory for the opponent versus being able to, let's just say you go down 2-0 on Rushmore and you find a way to chip away, get one back. That's a great start right there in its own and make a good response. And, you go into the next period and you're asking to try to win that period. And if you do that, I mean, you're back into a tied hockey game. And if you use that perspective versus just going, well, we're down, and I think that's kind of one of those things with a lot of those younger kids is that, it kind of, they think about that too much, and we're trying to get away from that piece. And so it's a good opportunity for us to really test ourselves this weekend and kind of see where we're at. And, I think we had a really big hiccup in our Brookings game in Brookings. I didn't think that we played the hockey that we're capable of playing, and or even what we've been asking to work on. And these kids have grown a lot since that opportunity, and so we're really hoping for a good competitive hockey game there as well. And, hopefully we can come out on top in that one and gain ourselves some extra motivation and extra boost going into the following weekend and give ourselves a good opportunity right before state.
Yeah, and that you just mentioned, too, being able to take on Rushmore and Brookings and get some momentum going into that state tournament. And one of the things that maybe helps with that momentum, or at least maybe a little bit of some rest, because everybody's beat up at this time of the year. Nobody really, as close as you can be to 100%, but I don't think any player is at 100% with the grind of a season. But being at home as much as you have been since the basically the turn of the calendar and most of maybe first part of January, everything's been at home. And other than when you travel next weekend to Mitchell and Watertown to take on Yankton and Watertown, being able to be at home for as much of a stretch as you have been, got to be good for those guys to get some extra rest because of the grind of a season.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's always beneficial to just have those home game series and be able to kind of have that home ice advantage and just the perspective from there. I mean, we have a really good fan base that shows up and supports us, and it really gets the kids going. And sometimes I make the joke of, all right, guys, I almost want you to calm down a little bit and not be too hyped. But, that's a great thing. I mean, it shows how much those kids really appreciate having people there and the hype that comes with that. And, yeah, I mean, you talk about the injury side of things. We've got the unfortunate deal. We've got one of our best scorers out for our Friday game, and actually our second-best point scorer is actually injured and going to be out for kind of the remainder of the regular season as we try to get him rested up and ready for the state tournament with Brecken Furman. And, that's just how the game goes sometimes is you have those freak falls and those accidents that can happen and stuff. And so we've just got to be able to ask for the next guy to be able to step up and earn that role and be able to demonstrate it in the right way and keep kind of following under the tracks of those guys that are kind of leading us in the point standings piece of it and being able to kind of get us up on the scoreboard more and more. And so, there's going to be an ask from some guys that maybe don't get on the points near as much, but, we're starting to notice a lot of our freshman crew and sophomore crew that are actually stepping up in ways that are making them look like they're just as comfortable as our all-time varsity players, and that's what you ask. I mean, that's what you want to see as the season goes on, is that growth in the development and to be able to gain that confidence. And so we're really excited to see some of those kids be able to step up over the next couple days and throughout the next few weeks. And, with injuries, everyone's got them at this time of the year. Your body gets worn down, and so we can't use it as an excuse. We've got to use it as motivation that every other team's going through the same type of pressure and, the soreness and things like that. And that's part of the amazing thing of hockey is every kid's gritty. They're able to just find that extra adrenaline rush and keep pushing forward.
And you mentioned about being able to the next guy step up and some different things that you'll end up having to do over the next course of the next 4 games. You had Bridger Babcock suspended for the Friday game, and you mixed and matched a lot of different things and really kind of kept everybody on their toes. And obviously, you're a much better hockey team with Bridger Babcock in the lineup than without him in the lineup. But the guys responded really well without him in the lineup and the different roles that they're in. And it's going to be the same, obviously, Friday with 2 guys out, and then having Furman be out for the rest of the regular season on top of it. A chance for the guys to show what they did against Mitchell and to do that over the course of 4 games to really feel good and feel confident about how the regular season will end and going into the state tournament.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've talked about it. It's the ask that you want from every single kid is to be able to learn under some of our older guys and or some of our better experienced players and most skilled players and just be able to learn from them. Find some of the things that they do well that you can then use in your game. And it shows that even when you are on the bench and maybe you're not getting the reps that you feel like you want to be getting at the time, you are still able to learn and you're still able to grow and become a better hockey player. And we're seeing that with a lot of those younger guys. And they did a really good job when Bridger was out to be able to step up. And, we did a few different things that maybe at the beginning of the year we'd never even thought of doing and found out that it was successful. And so to be able to have some different ideas going into state tournament of some kind of unique systems or lines that we could come up with if somebody is down and or somebody's struggling to play their game and stuff, we know that we have some different systems we can go to, and we have a lot of trust in those guys to be able to do the job as we've seen it happen already.
Again, talking with Coach Leighton Badger of the Wyatt Capitals. They take on Rushmore at 8 o'clock on Friday and then around 7:15 for a puck drop between the Capitals and Brookings on Saturday. Both games at home at the Expo Center and both games on Capital City Rock and on YouTube at Capital City Rock Sports. Saturday, again, also the final home game is senior night, and give you a chance to talk about these seniors, what they mean to for you as a coaching staff, but for the Wyatt Capitals in total.
Yeah, it's a really important time of the year to be able to kind of reflect and, honor those seniors that have put in all the time and effort throughout the years that they've given to our association. Right now I'm just kind of paying attention to our Facebook spotlights where we're posting about each senior and getting to kind of see just their little comments and stuff of kind of their favorite memories. A few of them have been through our journey together, and also kind of hearing what the words are of wisdom for kids moving up and kind of their mentality of how they want to leave a memory for all these kids going forward and what they have to look forward to. And every one of them talks about keeping your head up and continuing to fight, and even through the struggles, just continue to do your job and do it as best as you possibly can. And that's what we preach all the time. And for those kids, I mean, some of them maybe never even believed that before they were with our coaching staff, and they've grown so much, and they've been able to mature and just become great young adults that we have kind of tried to train them to be and stuff. And so really proud of them, and really look forward to them getting their senior spotlight time on Saturday. It's a really cool honor, and all of those kids that are our seniors this year were kind of the start of when I came into the association. There might have been a year prior to that, but I've basically gotten to coach all those guys for 3 to 4 years, and so it's been a really cool honor to see them grow as much as they have from the moment that I maybe was a spectator watching them in their bantam and peewee ages, and how they've grown since they've been in that high school era.
Get to talk with Coach Landon Badger of the Hawaii Capitals, again, coming up Friday at 8 o'clock, 7:15 on Saturday against Rushmore and Brookings. Final question here, Coach, as we wrap things up. Biggest key to play successfully, to 4 points would be great against the two of the top teams in the state, but biggest key to make that happen and make that 2 really good games for the Capitals this weekend?
Do a good job of just anticipating what's in front of you, and also at the same time not worrying about who it is that's our opponent. I think that's probably one of the biggest challenges in the state of South Dakota and high school sports in general, is you see the dominant teams that have been really successful, and the moment you see that name, that label, it seems like we play on our heels. And we're asking for our kids just play on their toes, play as competitive as you possibly can, continue to gain that confidence even through failure. I mean, we're not perfect. We're going to struggle, but how do you make a response when you do make a mistake, and try to make that not happen again, and just be able to learn over the next weekend. And hopefully by the end of the weekend we could come away with 4 points, if not a couple of points at the very least. I mean, that would be a great motivation going into our final weekend of the regular season, and can really also help both our varsity and our JV team. I mean, our JV team's fighting to try to get themselves into state, and so we want to be able to motivate those kids, and we want to be able to play our best hockey when it comes to March for both groups between the JV and our varsity.
Well, Coach, I appreciate the time as always. Good talking to you. Looking forward to this weekend and the wrap-up of the regular season, as we will talk to you again here soon, and good luck here this weekend, and good luck the rest of the season.
Thank you very much.
That is Coach Landon Badger of the Hawaii Capitals, back with more Coaches Corner after this here on KCCR and online at kccrradio.com.
During the summer months, residents may encounter someone at their door looking to sell a product or a service, especially with the recent storms and flooding. The Attorney General's Consumer Protection Division offers these tips. Avoid high-pressure sales tactics. Check for ID, such as a revenue license and proof of insurance. Ask for references and compare prices with local businesses. If you have questions regarding a door-to-door sale, contact the Attorney General's Consumer Protection Division at 800-300-1986 or at consumerhelp@state.sd.us.
Look, it's no secret that owning a vehicle can cause a lot of stress, and they get a lot of wear and tear on them through every season. Graham Tire wants you to know that you can trust them with any problem that you have with your vehicle. They have fully trained ASE certified mechanics on staff, ready to handle it for you. From brakes and bearings to alignments and front ends. Let their experience work for you. Over 50 years combined means you can count on them. So if it's time for a transmission flush or even a simple oil change, the only name you need to know is Graham Tire, 421 West Sioux Avenue in Pierre.
Most of us already know that Gales Gas of Pierre is the place to call for propane. They offer an automatic fill plan so you never have to worry about running out of propane. They accept debit and credit payments or a budget payment plan to spread out the cost throughout the year so you never have surprises when you get your bill. For delivery, convenience, and great customer service, call Gales Gas at 224-5518. That's Gales Gas at 224-5518.
This fall, take some time to think about your future. While the leaves make their way down to earth and the last sunset of summer leaves us with an autumn chill, it's time to grab the nearest foam finger and break out the face paint. Rush the stands with First Dakota National Bank and forget how to blink. Fall sports are back with jaw-dropping plays, an electric atmosphere, and epic scores. Make some noise with First Dakota National Bank. Open a new account online today at firstdakotanationalbank.com. Member FDIC.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Now I'm playing for real.
Yeah, you're doing pretty good. What play should I call now? Maybe corner 3.
He's hot. He is hot. Keep feeding that guy.
Now back to Coach's Corner with KCCR award-winning sports director John Winkler.
As we welcome back to Coach's Corner here on KCCR and online at kccrradio.com. Joining me is Coach Joey Fisher of the Stanley County Buffaloes, picking up a big win on the road last night against the Mobridge Pollock Tigers. And, Coach, before we start talking about your final 2 opponents, and obviously you have one still this week, but let's go back to last night's win against Mobridge Pollock. It was it's always a tough place to play when you go take on the Tigers. It's hard to get wins as they were undefeated at home going into last night. What's the biggest takeaway out of all of that for this Buffalo team to get the win last night?
I think just being able to deal with a little adversity. We ran into some foul trouble in that second quarter with Teagan, Brytech picking up 2, Paxton, and Bothwell. So three starters, 2 fouls. We had a lot of young guys in there, and they did a really good job of kind of stemming that tide, and we were able to get into halftime with a 7-point lead. And, that game could have looked a lot differently in that 4 or 5 minute stretch. So, those young guys came in. They did a really good job of just kind of controlling the game and doing what they needed to do to put us in a good spot. We had some big shots, and then, they come out on a big-time run to start the third quarter. And like you said, Mobridge is a tough place to play any time. So that place got rocking. That's a lot to overcome for a team. And, our guys, we've been a little bit battle-tested this year, and that was just a really big thing for us, being able to kind of play through a little adversity, be in a different spot than what we're normally used to, and then still being able to, get the stops that we needed, and then being able to score and being able to do what we needed to do to win.
And maybe it's not quite the number one win of the season, but just in general of everything, all that is, the seed points. Yeah, it's not a above 750 win to get a few more extra seed points, but the quality opponent that you're playing, the region opponent that you're playing on the road in a tough environment to try and go win, that's got to be one of those signature wins of the season for the Stanley County Buffaloes, right?
100%. They're really good at home, and they're a lot better than their record shows. They've lost to some really good basketball teams, and, Del Rapids twice is having a nice year, and Groton's a really good basketball team. They're a top 5 or 6 team in the state, and they played them really tough for a half of basketball. So, they have a really tough schedule, and they might have dropped a few that they normally wouldn't, but, that's a really good basketball team, and TJ does a really good job with those guys, and like you said, going up to Mobridge, but definitely one of those signature wins. It's one you look back on, and it's what did we do? What did we do when we needed to win? And we got stops and we scored buckets. And, super proud of the guys. Definitely a tough environment to play in, but was super happy with how we kept our composure, poise. And it's kind of that coming of age thing. We've been there before, have struggled to close out close games in years past, where that's one thing I think we're doing really well this year.
Again, talking with Coach Joey Fisher of the Stanley County Buffaloes. Now you turn to Little Wound on Friday, then you have Lyman on Monday to close out the regular season. And as good as what that win was yesterday, this Stanley County team got to make sure that everything stays focused, because you're sitting at number 6 overall in Class A right now, and 2 wins. 2 losses won't help you out to stay at the number 6 spot, but 2 wins against, again, still good teams, but 2 wins are very important to get at the end of this regular season coming up Friday and Monday.
Sure, it's like we said, we enjoyed it on the bus ride back, and now it's back to business. We got another opportunity this week to go 1-0, and we know that's going to be a really good basketball game against a good team that's playing really well. They got the Casey kid that I think is one of the best scorers in the state. I mean, he's up there with some of the best players, and he's going to be probably one of the best players we've seen this year, if not the best. So, we're going to have our hands full with him. And Little Wound at the end of the year, that's a tough place to play. And, it's going to be a great opportunity to go on the road again and at the end of the year and go 1-0. But, those are the games you want to be in. You want to be in these high-pressure situations, because I think that only helps battle test you for, what's farther down the road.
And this Little Wound team, how much does the pace of play, maybe, I don't know if concern is the right word, but dictate on how you want to play this game? Because they've scored 114 points in their last win against Teoshpatopa. They're usually scoring at least 70 points, if not more, in all but 2 wins. They've scored 92 points in a loss to Maipialuta. That is a lot of points to be scored in a game. And not that Stanley County, you have the shooters to keep up with those guys, but how much do you want to run up and down the floor? How much do you, also not get yourself out of rhythm by slowing things down. How do you handle something like that?
You definitely look to, play your style a little bit. Like, we're definitely going to look to push the ball and, score easy in transition, because I think that's going to help open it up in the half court. And, one thing we've really prided ourselves on is, our defense. And I think the biggest thing when you play a team like that can score a lot of points is you got to really limit what they do in transition. And that was the big thing with Mobridge is Mobridge, they don't go very deep, but they like to get out and run, and they try to get easy ones in transition. I think we limited that last night, which helped put us in a really good spot. And, we trust our half-court defense to where we feel like if we can get teams in the half-court, we're going to be okay. We believe in what we're doing in our system, and we think we're going to be in a good spot. So, definitely limit them the easy opportunities. They're going to hit some tough shots. They got some really good basketball players, but are we making things as difficult as possible is the thing we're really going to hang our hat on, and, I think that's going to put us in a good spot.
And we'll kind of not necessarily talk game plan or what you see from the Lyman Raiders coming up on Monday, mostly because, you've probably seen them a little bit in the Jones County tournament and kind of know about them, but you're not looking at them yet. You're just looking at Little Wound, and you get out, and it's not a Friday to Saturday type of turnaround, but you're at home to close out the season, and it's on a Monday. Maybe a challenge of playing on a Monday that you're not usually playing on Mondays very often. What maybe makes that challenge of playing Friday and then into Monday?
It just, you don't have that practice before, maybe that walkthrough that, helps sharpens up everything. But, I think that's also a quick turnaround, which, we've done really good on quick turnarounds this year. So I think that's one thing that benefits us. And, being able to go a little bit deeper, it's not as tough of a turnaround, but, it definitely has its disadvantages a little bit. But, that's one that'll be fun. SC and Lyman, it doesn't usually matter with records. It's usually a really good basketball game. It's kind of two rivals going at it. So, and we played them earlier this year, and that's one that we felt like we got away. So we're excited to get another opportunity at them. But it's kind of like you said, we got to take care of business Friday first, and then we'll turn our attention to them.
You mentioned, and I kind of want to go back to the Mobridge Pollock game just a little bit to specifically highlight a couple of guys. You talked about some of those maybe younger guys that got in, but a guy that his role isn't necessarily filling up the score sheet every night, but was very big in last night's game. And Weston Prince, who went 8 for 8 from the free throw line, 4 for 4 in that fourth quarter. He had some big free throws for the Buffaloes down the stretch. And again, a guy that you hear about Paxton Deal, you hear Eddie Duffy's name. Tegan Breitag has had multiple games where he scored a lot of points, but Weston Prince's name is there all the time, but it's not so much in the scoring side of things. And for him to be able to have some big points last night, again, just got to feel really good about adding another piece to the depth of being able to score, because he's already a part of the game plan overall, but him being able to score and hit a couple of big shots was really big last night for the Buffaloes.
For sure, he had that big time three to end the second quarter that got us up 7, and then he did everything. Second half, he 8 of 8 from the line. That was big, and he was aggressive and looking for a shot. We get Paxton and Eddie get a lot of attention, and Weston, like you said, he's not usually known for filling up the scoring sheet, but we know that we can get that kind of production, and he has that ability. He really prides himself on the defensive end, but he stepped up in a much bigger role last night. And it's Brendan Bothwell had a big game too. He had some big free throws down the stretch. Those two guys don't necessarily score the ball as much, but, they had some big-time shots for us. And, Tegan, like you said, he's filled up the score sheet. Tegan, he didn't necessarily do it in the scoring column last night, but just defensively, he was everything that we needed. And, he's a really big asset because he can guard 1 through 5, and he got switched onto some guards last night, and he held his own and did a really good job. And when you have that ability, it can make you really tough to match up with. And like I said, he made such a big impact. Those 3 guys were big for us last night, and it's excited to see what they continue to do the rest of the year.
And of course, coming up on Monday, we pretty much mentioned almost all of them, but I'll go through them real quick. It is senior night, so you get a chance to honor those seniors, and it is Weston Prince, Brendan Bothwell, Paxton Deal. You also have Tegan Breitag, Q Bourne, and Trevor Caldwell all being seniors that will be recognized on Monday. And, that there'll be a lot of big shoes to fill next year for a lot of guys that will step into those new roles. But, boy, this group has been, you've mentioned it, that you've been able to coach them for not just their high school career, but even in middle school days as well, that they've meant a lot to the Stanley County program to put it where Stanley County is right now at the end of this regular season.
For sure, there's not words that can describe what they mean. When you talk about the standard of what you want a program to be, I mean, those guys are it. They laid the foundation. They're the pillars. They're the standard, and it's like, that's what you look up to. Those are what those younger kids look up to. I mean, that's the group you want to be, right? And it's like I said, it'll be weird next year. I mean, I haven't coached a basketball practice without those guys. So my first year was when they were sixth graders to now, like, every basketball practice I've ever coached, I've had those seniors. So I said that'll definitely be a transition, but we're enjoying the moment. We've been through a lot together. We've had a lot of wins together. We've had some tough losses. So I think that really just creates, that family aspect and that bond and that relationship that you want. And I think we just play for each other. We're gonna be hard on them, but at the end of the day, they know we care about them and we love them, and we're just excited, to be able to honor them a little bit on Monday. But, they got bigger goals and aspirations to try to accomplish this year.
Well, and we'll wrap things up here as we're talking with Joey Fisher, the head coach of the Stanley County Buffaloes, who are 16-2 on the season. 2 more games at Little Wound on Friday. They'll play around 8 o'clock for that game against Little Wound on the road, and then it'll be about 8 o'clock again Monday at home against Lyman to close out the regular season. Let's. The only question is, I'll ask about Friday, because then Monday you'll worry about Monday after that Friday game. Biggest key to make sure that the Buffaloes get the win on Friday against Little Wound.
I think we got to limit, transition points. Our transition D is going to be really big. If we can keep them under 20 transition points, we're going to put ourselves in a good spot. And, the turnover battle is going to be big. Is when we've turned the ball over a little bit this year, we've struggled. I thought we did a really good job last night for the most part of holding on to the ball, and we got and that helped us get to the line. And so I think, finishing, obviously you want to finish the easy ones, and then that's going to lead to all the other stuff. But, transition defense, the turnover battle, and, finishing possessions is going to be really key for us on Friday.
Well, Coach, I appreciate the time as always. Good talking to you. Looking forward to how the regular season ends, and I think we'll be talking again here. Maybe not Coaches Corner-wise, because there's only one left next week, but I think we'll be talking here soon, talking about some playoff basketball. So good luck the rest of the season, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Sounds good. Thank you.
That is head coach Joey Fisher of the Stanley County Buffaloes. Back with more Coaches Corner after this here on KCCR and online at kccrradio.com.
During the summer months, residents may encounter someone at their door looking to sell a product or a service, especially with the recent storms and flooding. The Attorney General's Consumer Protection Division offers these tips. Avoid high-pressure sales tactics. Check for ID, such as a revenue license and proof of insurance. Ask for references and compare prices with local businesses. If you have questions regarding a door-to-door sale, contact the Attorney General's Consumer Protection Division at 800-300-1986 or at consumerhelp@state.sd.us.
At Shane's Pharmacy, your healthcare is important, and Shane wants to be the pharmacist to take care of you. Shane's Pharmacy will make sure your prescriptions are filled in a timely manner, they will answer your questions, and they will even deliver to your home or office. Call 223-9200. Shane's Pharmacy, the pharmacy you know and trust. The number again is 223-9200. Shane's Pharmacy in Fort Pierre, proud to support high school athletics.
Did you know it is important for your child to see the dentist at the time their first tooth erupt? A healthy smile begins at birth, and there are many variables, from healthy eating habits to good oral hygiene and routine dental care. Hi, I am Dr. Michelle Hofer. At Missouri River Dentistry, we enjoy working with people of all ages. Dentistry is our profession, but people are our focus. I invite families to come experience an office that uses the latest techniques and equipment to be sure you receive that healthy and happy smile. To schedule your appointments for your family, call us at 223-2021. Kids love us, parents trust us.
Score big on your next vehicle purchase with Lamb Motor Company in Oneida and Gettysburg, Lamb Chevrolet and Implement in Oneida, and Lamb Auto Sales in Pierre. Check out their large selection of new and pre-owned cars, trucks, and SUVs at any one of their locations, or go online to lambmotor.com. That's LAMBMOTOR.com. Or give them a call today at 800-952-2222. Lamb Motor Company of Oneida and Gettysburg, Lamb Chevrolet and Implement in Oneida, and Lamb Auto Sales in Pierre.
Hey, I'm just here so I don't get fined, so y'all can sit here and ask me all the questions y'all want to. I'm going to answer with the same answer, so y'all can shoot if y'all please.
This is Coach's Corner on your home for the Pierre Governors, KCCR, and online at kccrradio.com.
As we welcome back to Coach's Corner here on KCCR and online at kccrradio.com. Joining me is Coach Josh Leisner of the Pierre Governor boys track and field team, closing in on the start of the track and field season. And obviously, Coach, last year was a remarkable season for both the boys and the girls. And obviously, we'll talk with Coach Misty Larson coming up in a little bit, and we'll talk about the girls' side of things. But we'll talk about the boys here. A lot of records were shattered on the boys' side, left and right, all season long. I know you're ready for this next season to get started, but going back to last year, what the ride was like to be able to watch these guys break record after record every single time, it seemed like.
Well, it was awesome. There's no question. Coach Larson and I got together. Again, we were both kind of late hires, and so we had a mountain of things to take care of before the season started. And we were blessed that the weather cooperated with us, that we could, get outside for the most part and get most of the stuff that we needed to accomplish done with regards to practice and everything. But everything just seemed to come together. We were just hitting our goals left and right as far as setting the standard and establishing what we wanted our team to look like and be, and it's almost like the season started and then it went by so fast, and it was just one meet and 1 week to another, and we got to Howard Wood, we got through that, we got to ESD, and then we got to state, and we were breaking records along the way, and the kids were buying in, and it wasn't till almost like the season was over, and then you look back and you get to enjoy what you accomplished. But it was just so almost laser focused to the point where it went by a little too quick for me anyway. I know that she's been a part of state championship teams before. Not just individuals, but teams. And so she's experienced those kind of seasons much more than I have. But being able to, saddling up to next to one of the best to ever do it here in the state was awesome. And the standard was set. Our goal was to make Pierre track and field relevant again on both boys and girls side, and we did that. So now, we've got to, chase these records that were broken and try to jump over the bar.
And the fun thing about this boys group too is that every year you're going to lose seniors, and every year it's going to be hard to replace those guys. But when you look at what this team did last year and the amount of sophomores and juniors that were breaking records, there's a lot of guys that are returning that can certainly, not guarantee that they're going to break their own record again, but there is that possibility because they're still here and still competing in another year faster, another year stronger going into this year.
Absolutely. And, there's a lot, I don't like to use the word potential, but there is potential to be, very strong this year on the boys' side. There's 7 kids right now that are under 12 seconds in the 100 meters. Carson Waltai is a kid that, he ran under 11 seconds last year, and he, has been working hard in the off season, and he's primed to run under 11 seconds consistently, which is good. Really good for us. We've got other kids like George Rapp, Carter Schuffelbein. These guys are running mid to low 11s, which is incredible. And like Carter Schuffelbein, that kid, he was a sophomore last year, and he ran 11.49 in the 100 meters. He ran 23.39 in the 200 in the Open 2, but that was earlier in the season, and if he would have ran another Open by the end of the year, he would have probably run under 23 seconds easily. And then to run sub 50 in the 400 as a sophomore, that is a signal right there of elite. Like, there's elite potential there. And I mean, just watching him all year and it was incredible. Some other guys, Will Danberg, that's another one. He's going to be a good, strong piece for us moving forward. Here's one that I'm interested to see what's going to happen because of the football injury, but it's Carter Merrill. Carter Merrill is one of our top sprinters, and he is one of our valuable pieces in all of those relays. He was probably in 75-80% of those relays that were broken, the 100 and the 200, and I know he's on the record-setting 100-meter relay, and I think the 4x2, the second fastest time that was ever ran. So the first time we broke it, I think he was on there, and then it was rebroken again. But something like that. I hope I'm not getting it mixed up, but I'm interested to see, because that devastating football injury, we weren't sure if he was going to be able to do anything. And then I remember shortly after we won our 8th championship and restored order, across the galaxy, the Empire struck back. I saw him here at school, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to be ready." It's like, for track. Yep. It's like, okay, let's go, and now he hasn't been able to do anything. He wasn't able to play basketball, but I know he's been rehabbing relentlessly and doing everything that he's supposed to do. But not being able to run around and move around, that's going to affect him in some way, shape, or form. It's just we'll see how he responds and bounces back from that. And I have a feeling he's going to be fine, which is good because he's going to be a major piece as well. So.
Talking with Coach Slice here as the Pierre boys track and field team, and again, here coming up later on in the program, we're going to talk with Coach Missy Larson, the Pierre girls track and field team. How close are we to the first practice for track and field?
First practice, as of right now, it's March 2nd, Monday, so a few weeks away.
And hopefully, obviously today and the rest of the weekend or rest of the week doesn't look like great temperatures, but if we can get the last week's temperatures to be that first part of March all the way through the rest of the season, I think you and Coach Larson will be pretty happy about that again, wouldn't you?
Absolutely, we'll take it. I mean, we've been talking a little bit about it, and last year, as I mentioned before, we were blessed with phenomenal weather, and this year it's like, are we going to get paid back for such a great season last year? Like, we're just hoping that it doesn't dump on us and what have you. So we got the state track clinic this weekend. We're going to get through that, and then get all of our ducks in a row, and then I don't know. I'm pretty excited for the season to start. I know she is. We've been meeting pretty much daily again and getting ready to go. So the excitement is in the air. That's for sure.
How close is that first track and field meet once practice just started on March 2nd?
Well, it's going to be the end of March.
Okay.
So the Ruth Marski, that indoor meet in Brookings. So. We'll have a few weeks, a month's time to get going and look like, get an idea of what our team is going to look like, and that first meet, we always want to just set the tone. Last year, I remember we wanted to walk in there and set the tone, and by the time it was over, it was like, oh, Pierre was here. Well, I mean, everybody took notice of us last year, and I'm sure when we come walking in there, they'll be looking for us. So, the bar is set a little bit higher than it was last year. So now now we go to work. So
and being able to talk here on Coach's Corner, obviously practice haven't started yet, and you're wanting to get through the first couple weeks of practice before you really start thinking about that first meet. But how important that indoor meet is. Obviously, outside of it, snowing you out, there's no bad weather. During that meet, as long as it doesn't get canceled, you're not going to have bad weather inside for the indoor meet, and there's no different weather conditions, no wind, all that stuff. It's nice temperatures in there. But how important it is to have that meet, and for the guys and the girls too, but for the guys to be able to get that first event under their belts, and whether they're competing 1 or 5 or 6, to be able to have that indoor meet at the end of March. How important that is for you guys, for the coaches, but for the athletes too.
It's very important. Like I said, we want to set the tone, but we want to get an idea of what our team is going to look like, and who's going to be competitive right away, like right out of the gate. We've said it before, we don't want participants, we want competitors, and that's the mindset going in. So it's very, very important. And, it's time of the year where there's a lot of things going on, and, it's just, a lot of things going on for the kids, other activities outside of track and field, and we kind of have to battle that right away. But, it's very important. And anyone who tells you differently, obviously, is not in it to win it. So,
again, talking with Coach Slice, the Pierre boys track and field team. We mentioned some of those guys that are returning and an opportunity, and obviously there's going to be some new faces that will get their first opportunity. Maybe you've seen them in JV, maybe you've seen them in middle school that are moving up now to the varsity ranks or the JV ranks. But being able to see some of these new faces, how much fun it is to see new guys step up into roles that have been maybe somebody who's been a senior and have been a part of, or has been 3 years in that number one spot on that event. Now you get somebody new in there to try and be that number one guy for the Pierre Governors. How exciting is that for you guys too?
Very exciting. We have strong junior class. There's sophomores, and then the freshmen coming up. Or there's a couple of them that I'm really anxious to see. Hayden Northup, I know was valuable for the middle school last year. Latrell Rodriguez, Ben Maxwell, he's been coming to off-season workouts. Those guys, I'm anxious to see them and how they fit in and how they do right away. Like I'd mentioned a couple guys before, Carson Walti, George Rapp, Will Damberg, those guys are, they were part of the team last year, but Carson Stoser's gone now, Eladio's gone now, and, those guys are have an opportunity to fall in and fill those shoes and slide into those slots, so to speak. Eladio last year came out of nowhere, and he set our 400-meter school record that had been broken, or he broke it. It was set in the 80s and set the ESD conference, 400 record. Well, I tell you what, Carter Shufflebine, that's already in danger. The way that kid's been coming on, a lot that record might be short-lived. Caleb Morris, that's another one. He's coming into his senior year, and he's, it's almost going to be like, I see it like a redemption year for him, because I know he didn't have the state track meet that he wanted to last year, but he's coming in. He's going to be ranked very high in his respective events, and he's going to score a lot of points for us, and I just see him just having an outstanding year. He is within reach of the mile record, the 2 mile record. He's like, I think the 1600 meters, he's 0.06 away from breaking that. He's 3.5 seconds away from breaking the 2 mile. He's got that stuff in his sights, and he's been laser focused in the off season, and he's ready to go. That's going to be a kid to watch too, no question. So I'm excited across the board to see what's coming up. The young guys coming up, see what we have. Cooper Terwilliger, he's coming out, and for as big as human being that he is at his age, his times from last year are impressive. He ran an 11,800 meters at 220 something pounds. I mean, he's a little bit bigger now, but he's stronger now. And I'm sure he's faster now, and he's more coordinated now, and he's been working his butt off. And I'm excited to see what our boys are going to do. Of course, the girls too. And then what we can put together in relays. I mean, man, if we had another year like we did last year, I mean, I couldn't ask for anything more. So, and you know, I want to get our boys on the podium. We had a couple things happen last year. We left some points out there. We had a great state track meet, and some kids really stepped up, but we left some points out there, and our boys should have been on that podium. They deserve to be on that podium, and it's my job to get them on that podium. It's going to happen this year. So, yeah.
And they were a lot of fun to watch last year, all the way through, and expecting the same, and going to be a lot of fun to watch them this year. Before we wrap things up, anything else here that you want to mention about the boys track and field team before we wrap up for the segment?
I don't think so. I think I said everything that that is on my mind. I'm super stoked to see what this squad is going to do, and I'm also excited because we're going to have some new faces. We're going to have some guys rejoin the track team. Porter Hunsley's coming back. Jaron Deal is coming out. I mean, we're going to we have athletes, and I cannot wait to get them on the track and get them through the process that Coach Larson and I have put together with regards to practices and just the team structure and the culture that we're building here. Seeing the support from the parents last year, it's only going to be greater now. And seeing those kids go through that and just grow and mature as track athletes, it's exciting, and I cannot wait. It's almost like salivating at the mouth to get going, I
was going to say, it's a great week to be talking to you about this because we had such great weather. It's eating at us that springtime should be here, and being able to talk some track and field is really, I think, good for the soul right now, especially right now. And maybe as the weekend goes along, being colder, it's good for the soul to be able to talk about some warm weather stuff. But I appreciate the time, Coach, and really looking forward to it. I know, obviously Coach's Corner is going to wrap up here next week, and then we move into our off season. But we'll be talking quite a bit as the season goes along, and looking forward to another fantastic Pierre Governor track and field season.
Oh yeah, can't wait. So go Govs.
As head coach Josh Schleisner of the Pierre boys track and field team, back with more of Coach's Corner after this here on KCCR and online at kccrradio.com.
During the summer months, residents may encounter someone at their door looking to sell a product or a service, especially with the recent storms and flooding. The Attorney General's Consumer Protection Division offers these tips. Avoid high-pressure sales tactics. Check for ID, such as a revenue license and proof of insurance. Ask for references and compare prices with local businesses. If you have questions regarding a door-to-door sale, contact the Attorney General's Consumer Protection Division at 800-300-1986 or at consumerhelp@state.sd.us.
Building a home. It's the biggest investment most of us make in a lifetime. Not to mention, it's a decision that, well, you pretty much live with day and night. The quality of the workmanship stares back at you like a reflection. It also affects the value of your investment. Choosing the right contractor is critical. Kruger Contracting is that contractor. Call 222-2523. Quality workmanship and materials completed on time. Kruger Contracting. In a word, quality. Call 222-2523.
Capital City Ford, Lincoln, and Toyota in Pierre is proud to sponsor today's game. Whether you're in the market for a brand new Ford, Lincoln, or Toyota, or a quality pre-owned vehicle, our team is here to get you back on the road in style. From tough trucks to family SUVs, we've got the selection you need and the hometown service you deserve. Browse online anytime at CapitalCityFordToyota.com. Capital City Ford, Lincoln, and Toyota, where community drives us forward.
It takes hard work to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than just sports. It also goes for your financial goals. You work hard for your money. You deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. Your local Edward Jones financial advisor can help. If your investments aren't getting you closer to the win, visit edwardjones.com or stop by your local Pierre area Edward Jones office for a financial review. Edward Jones, making sense of investing. Member SIPC.
That's a clown question, bro.
You're listening to Coach's Corner on KCCR and online at kccrradio.com.
As we welcome back to Coach's Corner here on KCCR and online at kccrradio.com. Joining me is Coach Misty Larson of the Pierre Girls Track and Field team. And, Coach, we just got done talking with Coach Slice, and so we're going to focus on the girls' side of things for this segment. And what a fantastic season last year, setting state records, setting school records, and, the boys and the girls teams had such great seasons overall. How much fun was it from your perspective now a year later, kind of gearing up for 2026? How much fun was 2025 for you?
Well, certainly it was a blast. Coach Slice and I were both new to the head coaching positions last year, and we were just so pleased with how our athletes rose to our expectations, and how our coaches also adapted to the changes that we implemented. So it is fun when the season's finally done to just be a little reflective of what occurred throughout the season. And certainly we have so much pride in those kids and their work ethic and their belief system and what we were trying to accomplish. And so for them to do what they did last year is certainly very satisfying, but it also makes us very hungry for even more, raising that bar even higher this season.
And you have, obviously, every season you end up losing some seniors and some big key pieces of those seniors. And, the biggest one, and not to take away from anybody else, but Callie Rinksmeyer, after graduating and running, and maybe a chance to see her later this weekend and compete in the indoor championships for the Summit League. But you still have a lot of key pieces that are returning for this year's team, and that's got to be such a fun thing to start looking forward to as the season's about to go, is that some of those state championships, there's not a lot of girls that are going to be gone from those state championship relay teams and those individuals that are still going to be able to be competing for the Governors this year.
Yeah, for sure. Callie Rinksmeyer had a fantastic senior season. She's just doing awesome right now at USD. That's so exciting to see her just doing everything that we knew she would be capable at the collegiate level. We'll definitely miss Callie Rinksmeyer. Lennox Dupree was somebody who I don't think was necessarily on our radar at the beginning of the season. We were just happy she was out, and she just kept doing better and improving. So those are two that come to mind that were big contributors last year. But we definitely have a good core group coming back, and I think there's some real excitement on our girls team. Charlie Williams-Smith coming back as a state champion. She's got big goals this year, and she's going to lead our sprint crew for sure. We have some holes to fill, I think, in that sprint area, but Charlie will lead those girls, and I believe that we'll have some good sprint relays once again. On the distance side of things, we have two collegiate athletes, two girls that assigned as well to run collegiately, led by Emery Larson, and then Gwen Richter is in that group as well. So those three right there are three girls that are competing in the collegiate level in a year from now, and so we will lean on them for sure for some leadership and good performance. And then we have some younger girls that last year made big impacts on our team that are coming back. Emlyn Swanson is one that comes to mind in the jumps and the sprints. Josephine Wirtz is another one. Brooke Hansen in the hurdles and sprints. So those are all some younger athletes that we think can really be major contributors this season.
It's going to be fun too, because obviously Callie last year that would end up running it collegiately. Now you have two girls that will be running collegiately, and three girls running collegiately next year, and you get to challenge them in a way that that they are going to want to be challenged, because they not that the other girls, it's not their sport or anything else or whatever it might be, but they're going to go at the next level, and so you get to really challenge them, and then you also see like three really good leaders right away, because those girls want to be so good and want to go right into the college level and compete right away. That's got to be make you smile, but also give you a really good hold right away for the season of beginning.
Yeah, for sure. These are girls that want to elevate themselves, and by doing so, they should elevate others around them. They should be able to make those other girls work even harder. I mean, this isn't a recreational sport, even though we have kids that are involved for all different reasons. We want girls to get to be there at the best level they can be at. And by having those three that were mentioned, I do believe that helps bring our level of competition and just that level of dedication that is needed to be that good. Their teammates see that and allows them, I think, to dream big too. So we hope that all those pieces come together, and it is kind of a little bit of a puzzle, but we've had some girls work really hard over the winter, the fall, the summer, and so we'll get to that point, we hope, by the end of the season.
And the last week or so, the temperatures and the weather has just been fantastic. How much has it made the itch of wanting to get started with this season? And who knows, you want to have the same type of weather that you had all season last year again this year, and hopefully that's the case. But after the last probably 7 days where you start to feel like you kind of get in a routine of being outside a little bit more, how much does it make you say, boy, why can't track and field season begin right now?
You're not wrong. I mean, this last 7 to 10 days, it has been track weather. I mean, it's been so fantastic. And I know those kids, girls and boys, have been outside, running on trails and running hills. And we hope we have a fraction of what this last week has been for weather. I'm a little nervous because I feel like the precipitation has to come at some point, and so. But that's the deal with track and field and spring sports in general. We have to be flexible. We have to be willing to pivot. Sometimes we have a meet scheduled or a workout scheduled, and all of a sudden the weather changes quickly, and so we have to be super flexible. But it does get you excited when you see this weather and what's to come sometime, hopefully in the spring. It is nice that we start off with an indoor meet, so we know as long as we can get there, that meet is going to happen, and it just gives us our first taste of where we're at and where things we need to work on. But we hope we'll have a good spring too with the weather, because it is very dependent on being able to get outside.
Yeah, and last year was such an awesome year to be able to be with the weather. But you mentioned the indoor meet coming up at the end of March, and talk with Coach Slice too, and ask you the same question: is how important that is for the coaches and for the athletes to be able to go compete at an indoor meet. Outside of bad weather that can't get you there, there's no reason for it to not happen.
Yeah.
Rain and cold weather won't stop you. It's just the weather trying to get you there. It's the only way that it doesn't happen. So how nice is it to be able to compete right away, even that indoors, but be able to get that first competition for the coaches to kind of see how things might line out, but for those athletes to kind of get that first one under their belt.
Yeah, well, it's huge, because by then, if an athlete has started on day one, March 2nd, I mean, they've been practicing for a month, and we need to see where we're at. Even though we'll do some competitive things in practice, it's nice to see other people and really get an idea. It's a really competitive meet too. The interesting thing about the start of our season is, even though we have a start date of March 2nd, we will have kids that join us a week later, and another week later, and another week later, depending on how our basketball seasons go, our hockey seasons, some of those. So we don't start with everybody on our first day of practice. With that being said, we hope as long as they've gotten the required practices in and they're ready physically, most people will be able to compete at that meet. And it is important. It is important that we give our best effort, as we should every single meet. But it does give us an idea where we stack up against some really good competition. And it's, we're excited to compete at an indoor meet, but also just a really awesome facility and with great competition.
Again, talking with Coach Larson of the Pierre girls track and field team, and go back to last year just a little bit of all the records, school records. You broke some state records, winning a state championship. You had a gold medalist, best time of all 3 classes, winning a state championship. And then you fast forward to this year, and again, some of those new girls will fit into those new slots and be able to be part of those relays or maybe part of those sprints that times might look a little bit different, especially early on. But how do you make sure that the girls aren't saying, boy, I need to be at this level already? And even some that are, that have won and are coming back and maybe their time isn't quite where they think it should be, or maybe where it ended up last year isn't where it's at. For those girls to make sure that they stay calm and okay, that that the times will get better as the following the process of the season.
Right. Yeah, you bring up a really good point, and athletes do this often. Unfortunately, when they start the season, they think they should start where they finished last season, and that's not at all how it works. Honestly, if they were to start at that point, boy, they're way ahead of the game. But it is a process, and it's so important that they learn to trust the process, trust their coaches. And I think one thing Coach Slice and I tried to do last year was really trust that process and understand we're looking at the end of the season and long-term goals. Also figuring out those right combinations really matter, but giving kids opportunities to show what they can do. And that is not at the first meet necessarily. It's a process throughout all of our meets as we go through. So kids can get frustrated because they're ready to go right away and they're so excited, they're jacked up, but to be patient with themselves, that's really an important thing.
And again, as we talk with Coach Larson, we'll start to wrap up here. I always like to ask about the biggest key for success, and whether it be the first meet or going through. But since we're still a month away and over a month away, won't ask that question. But kind of maybe that biggest thing that is always important for the first couple weeks of practice, that maybe for the fan or for someone that isn't involved in track and field, or maybe is involved in track and field, but that biggest thing that the coaches are really hoping to see from the kids for the first couple weeks of practice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, there's several things that we're looking for. Number one, we're looking for kids who are motivated and driven and want to make themselves better and be able to contribute to our team. But when we talk about the nuts and bolts of it, we want kids who are focused and are ready to work hard just even in the warm-up. That's really important, that we get that warm-up down and we start doing things the right way. We come to practice on time. I mean, our expectations being met or exceeded. That's what we're looking for these first few weeks of practice, and just for kids to give their full effort whenever we're working, whatever we're doing, that they're working hard and they remain focused. And we think we're going to have that. We feel like starting this year, we're so much further ahead than we were last year when we were both new to the head coaching position. And so we're excited to see where we can just jump right in and kids understand what we expect.
Well, Coach, I appreciate the time. It is good talking to you again. It's good to talk about track and field. Yes. I mentioned with Coach Slice, too, that after that last week, it's good for the soul to be talking about spring sports and track and field. But I appreciate the time. Good luck as the season goes along. Obviously, with Coach's Corner coming to an end next week, we won't have the Coach's Corner conversation, but I know we'll be talking as the year goes along. So appreciate the time and good luck this year.
Yes, thank you so much. And we always appreciate our kids getting the great coverage that you give. So thank you, and we're just super excited to get things rolling once again.
Absolutely. That is Coach Larson of the Pierre girls track and field team, back with more Coach's Corner after this year on KCCR and online at kccrradio.com.
During the summer months, residents may encounter someone at their door looking to sell a product or a service, especially with the recent storms and flooding. The Attorney General's Consumer Protection Division offers these tips. Avoid high-pressure sales tactics. Check for ID, such as a revenue license and proof of insurance. Ask for references and compare prices with local businesses. If you have questions regarding a door-to-door sale, contact the Attorney General's Consumer Protection Division at 800-300-1986 or at consumerhelp@state.sd.us.
As community bankers, BankWest employees are deeply committed to supporting local causes, growing the local economy, and creating local opportunities. At a time when you can bank anywhere, we hope you choose Bank West. We'll be your financial partner for the long haul, helping you and your community achieve financial success. Bank West. Convenient, connected, committed. Member FDIC.
Hey you. Are you at a job that is fulfilling, has good benefits to support you or a family today, and retirement goes down the road? If you just said no, listen up. CHS River Plains is hiring operations personnel, drivers, and custom applicators at several locations. These come with a knockout affordable benefit package for you and the whole family. Apply to a job with CHS River Plains and up your benefits straight up. To apply, visit us online at chsriverplains.com or stop in at one of our locations. CHS is an equal opportunity employer.
Let me talk to you.
You're listening to Coach's Corner on Central South Dakota's sports leader, KCCR.
Yeah.
And we welcome you back inside the KCCR studios one final time here tonight as we wrap up our second and final Coach's Corner edition, as we will have one more show next week. We'll be talking a lot of state wrestling next week as we in postseason winter sports as we get into the state tournament next Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Region tournaments are happening tomorrow and through the weekend. All of that we'll have results of and getting set for that state wrestling tournaments. Looking forward to our final Coach's Corner of the season next week, Wednesday, here on KCCR and online at kccrradio.com. And, of course, playback is anytime you missed any of the segments, want to go back to listen to any of them, head over to our YouTube channel, KCCR Sports, and catch out the latest edition of Coach's Corner and any of those Coach's Corners from this past year and the last couple of years. Want to say thanks to our coaches, Coach Landon Badger of the Wyatt Capitals, Joey Fisher of the Stanley County Buffaloes, and Coach Josh Schleisner and Misty Larson of the Pierre Governor boys and girls track and field team. And again, join us next Wednesday, 5:30 right here on KCCR for our final edition of Coach's Corner for the 2025-26 year. This has been John Wickler with Coach's Corner. Have a great rest of your Wednesday.
You've been listening to Coach's Corner on KCCR, presented by the South Dakota Office of Attorney General, Division of Consumer Protection. Coach's Corner on KCCR and online at kccrradio.com is also brought to you by Bank West, Capital City Ford, Lincoln, and Toyota, Todd's Electric, Oahe Federal Credit Union, Shane's Pharmacy, Missouri River Dentistry, CHS River Plains, Edward Jones Financial, Thording Electric, First Dakota National Bank, Gales Gas, and Lamb Motors. Join us each Wednesday at 5:30 on KCCR and online at kccrradio.com for more Coach's Corner. This has been a special presentation of Riverfront Broadcasting Sports, Central South Dakota's sports leader.